Welcome to our event, Young People on Intersectionality and Leadership, Our Voices, Our Stories. I am Soneni Kwizi. I am a disability activist from Zimbabwe. We are here at one of the world's largest meetings for gender equality. Too often, these types of events fail to conclude and understand the perspectives of young people, particularly young women with disabilities and the youth. In general, the mainstream of youth and young women with disabilities can be excluded from these voices. But the leadership of young women and young girls with disabilities must be recognized, valued, and nurtured if gender equality is going to be an achieved thing. In this session, we'll hear from an amazing group of speakers. This group of young activists, women with disabilities, and young men champions, and they will share their stories of leadership and their strengths. Our speaker from UN Women will talk about what their work is, the importance of intersectionality and leadership. And we will hear from you, or we'll also hear from you how you can be inclusive in these different groups that we're in. But before we go on with our questions, we would like to apologize. We'd like to apologize that we might not have the correct sign language interpreters, but we do have. And we also like to acknowledge one of our panel speakers from Sudan, Alkanza, who is not able to attend this meeting due to the conflict in her country. She's a young disability rights activist. Before we start, let's run the poll to find out who is in the virtual room today. So the questions to answer is, are you a funder? Are you a disability rights? Are you a youth? Are you international organization? Just to mention a few, who are you that is in the group? And thanks for answering the questions. So now we are going to get to the meat of the purpose why we are here. I would like to start by introducing our speakers. My co-host Onyinyo is the CEO and founder of Strong Enough Girls Empowerment Initiative, a non-profit organization that empowers at-risk girls and young women through education, mentorship, life skills, and development. The organization has built a network of girls and women's rights advocates who work together to achieve common goals while building each other. Our speakers are, we have Elizabeth. She's an activist, a public speaker, and an educator based in Nigeria and passionate about inclusion. Then we have Baza, a young man who's part of an Indi-Genius champion representing Niger. He's an activist, passionate about reproductive health and family planning issues. Then we have Doris. She's a young person with a physical impairment and a disability rights activist in Tanzania. She is passionate about inclusion and disability rights. So we have a pool of very informed young persons with disabilities that are ready to take the world. Then our last speaker would be Stella. She's the executive director of Diwa Water, an organization of women with disabilities in Tanzania, and a powerful advocate, disability rights for women and girls. Thank you to all our speakers for joining us today. I'm going to ask all of these speakers a series of questions for discussion. And I'll also ask them if they can briefly introduce themselves and tell us who they are, so that we get to know them. For our first question, I would like to hear from Doris. Doris, please introduce yourself before you answer the question. And the question is, how does gender equality play out for you in your role as a young leader with a disability?
Okay, thank you so much, moderator. First of all, I would like to give thanks to the organizer of this an incredible conference. Also, I would like to send my gratitude to IDD International for giving me this chance to talk in front of this big congregation. My name is Doris Mkiva, a young woman with a physical disability. I'm working with by using a crutches. I'm from Tanzania. Thank you so much. So based on your question, what's the gender equality play role as to me as a young woman with disability? First of all, to myself, I could define gender equality as to give an opportunity, equal opportunity between men and women to access different opportunity based in economic, political, and social aspect. So by being able to determine my purpose and accept myself the way I am, through different activism that I made here in Tanzania, gender equality play a great role to me since I was able to participate in different events. Through that event, I was able to raise the voice of women with disability, raise the voice about accessing their rights, especially to the reproductive rights. As I was able to attend a certain government meeting, and it was about to raise the voice about the certain kind of guideline in health sector, so that to prepare a guideline specifically to the women and the girls with disability. And I'm so proud that the government was so interested on it, and it was promised us to use it as a part of the guideline within a government. Not only that, but I was able to be part of the different conference representing women with disability. Through that, I was able to raise the voice about inclusion of women with disability in leadership position and being able to make a decision, since most of the community, most of the people within the community, they see that women with disabilities, they are not able to be, they're not able to take part in decision-making process because of the way they are. So through that participation, I was able to give them an example, because we have different leaders here who have a disability and are the women, and they hold the largest, the highest position within our government, since we have a deputy minister here, is the one having a physical disability, and she's doing a great job. So through that, I was able to change the mindset of the community member about the trust to people, to women with disability. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Doris. You've raised quite very important points there on your answering the question, how does gender equality play out a role? You live it by example. I like that. My next question will go out to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, if you can also introduce yourself briefly and tell us what you do. But also, I would like to ask you the same question. How does gender equality play out for you in your role as a young leader with a disability?
Okay. So it's still morning here in Nigeria. Right now, sorry, Sonini, I don't know why I cannot start my video. It's saying that the host has disabled it. Okay, thank you. Oh, good. So can you see me now?
Yes, we can see you, but you have to lower it down a bit. Lower it down.
Hello. Oh, okay. Is it better?
Lower it down again.
Or this way? You prefer this way or like this? Which better?
We go up a bit. Just go up a bit. Yes, somewhere there.
Oh, okay.
Go up again. Go up again. It's a bit, yes. Yeah, leave it there.
Okay. Good.
Go up a bit.
Oh.
That's it.
Is it better like this? Sorry.
Yes,
This video is going to take a while. Sorry about that. Actually, the rain, it's the rain that puts me in a corner that I will not be able to, I don't know.
Maybe you
I
can
think like
switch
this
it
is
off.
okay.
It's okay.
I think it's good, huh?
Okay. Emma, you think this is good?
Yeah, for me, I can see you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Good.
That's good. Well done. Yeah.
Good. So, gender equality for me, I think it is what that basically means is giving everybody equal opportunity. Before then, my name is Elizabeth. Sorry about that. I'm from Nigeria and I'm a Sexual Reproductive Health Rights 2022 with SEGEI. So gender equality, like I've said earlier, I said that gender equality is giving everybody equal opportunity to show what they can really do and what they cannot do, but might be able to do with little help. Then how has gender equality really in my space in here in Nigeria? Like when you are telling people about sexual reproductive health rights, especially as a person with visual impairment, they look at you like, but you are a lady now. How did you know all these things? If not that you are doing rubbish, you know, they look at you like somebody who is loose, who is irresponsible. But with little explanation that, okay, knowing about your body, knowing about the functions of your organs doesn't make you loose. Rather, it makes you responsible for yourself and to be able to hold your ground, to say no to so many things that would have put your life in jeopardy or something. That has really been able to help a lot, because as I'm doing it, I notice that others are also picking from what I do and they're helping me as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That was a lovely, short and sweet like Soneni. I always tell people. And yeah, you raised that a very important points there on how women need to take charge of themselves and know their bodies very well. My next question, I'm going to ask Stella. Stella, if you can also do the same, briefly tell us about yourself and then answer this question. What do you think needs to be done for young women's rights to be realized? Is Stella here?
First of all, napenda kuwasalimia wote wakina mama mliopo katika mkutano huu.
In the first place, I would like to greet all of you who are in this meeting.
Ya, kwa jina ni Stella Jairus ambaye ni mkurugenzi, natokea katika taasisi ya Water, Voice of Disabled Women in Tanzania, na nikiwa kama mkurugenzi.
I'm Stella Jairus, the director of Voice of Disabled Women in Tanzania.
Ya. Napenda kushukuru Adi kwa kutoa fursa hii kwa wanawake wenye ulemavu kutoka nchini Tanzania kwa kuwapatia nafasi ya kuja kujielezea au kueleza hisia zao katika mkutano huu.
Thank you to Adi Tanzania for inviting me on behalf of women with disabilities in Tanzania to express their issues that globally they are at least known.
Qui sont tout aussi nobles.
Ni nini kifanyike kwa wasichana wenye ulemavu ili kufikia haki zao? Ni kwamba kuna mambo mengi ambayo yanaweza kufanyika ili wasichana waweze kufikia ndoto zao za kupata haki zao. Kwanza ni mafunzo. Haya mafunzo yanawezekana wakafanyiwa katika sehemu zifuatazo: kuwajengea uwezo katika sehemu za ujasiri, kuwa wajasiri, na pia kuwapa mbinu za uongozi, namna ya kujielezea masuala yao kwa ujumla.
What do you think is to be done for young women?
Hay muchas cosas que las mujeres para que los derechos de las mujeres se concreten.
To conduct
Je
a capacity
pense que nous devons continuer avec
disabilities, especially young women, on confidence building, on assertiveness, on leadership skills, public speaking skills, and the government structures.
Na
Is she done?
actually,
She's done.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Stella, for raising the very important points. Yes, women with disabilities need to be taught how to speak in confidence. They need to go under the training so that they can easily represent themselves. My next question is going out to Baza. Baza, your question is, if you can also introduce yourself briefly and then answer your question, what do you think needs to be done for young men's rights to be realized? Young women's rights to be realized from a male perspective.
Ok, merci bien. Je ne pouvais pas activer ma caméra là. Il y a restriction. Là. Voilà, là c'est bon. Ok, allez, bonjour à tous. Moi c'est Baza Abdourahamane. Je suis jeune champion Indi-Genius du Niger. Je suis activiste sur les questions de santé reproductive et planification familiale des adolescents et jeunes ici au Niger. Pour la question qui m'est posée, donc, par rapport à ce que nous devrons faire pour que les droits des femmes puissent être respectés. Donc, je m'en vais donner très rapidement donc, ma réponse. Donc, nous sommes aujourd'hui au lendemain donc, du 20e anniversaire du protocole de l'anniversaire du protocole de Maputo. Donc,
Maputo Protocol. For the implementation of this protocol from 2005 to today, there's one question to be asked: where are we regarding the promises for women and young girls? So this should really help us to act better. So all the women are vulnerable. They are victims of discriminations that affect all the aspects of their lives, be it in the public or in the private life. Not only the spirit of women's right is essential, but also important for any country that would like to reach development. And it's not just for the women, and it's also for the men and every other country. All the women's rights must be respected, and for that, we need to recognize these rights for the men, and this go through education, freedom of speech, and information. Women will also have to claim their own rights, and keeping in mind that they should have a voice in their family and in the public life so that they can take decisions. And women should also have access to health by implementing their own choices, economic rights. And we can also understand that to make things change, it's not just a matter of women because there are stereotypes that are being done by everyone in the media, and would have to correct that so that they can enjoy their rights.
D'une discrimination systémique qui est profondément ancrée.
Gender inequalities are systemic and they rely on asymmetrical relations. So we need to develop them so that gender equality can progress. Also, we need to use new approaches because concretely we do nothing while we are talking about reforms. And also the fundamental principles that consider that men and women should benefit from promotion of gender equality.
Donc, je terminerai en disant que compte tenu de la fragilité des acquis et de la lenteur des progrès et des réactions de plus en plus hostiles, nous estimons qu'il est important de mobiliser et de faire participer toutes sortes d'acteurs pour faire progresser donc les droits humains essentiels qui sont les droits des femmes et des jeunes filles. Voilà ce que je pouvais dire par rapport à la question, donc je vous remercie.
Thank you so much, Baza, for that answering the question. In case those that would want to hear the interpretation of in English, what you need to do is you go right at the corner, and then you can choose which language that you want to hear it in. It will give, your app will give you an option to which language you want the conversation in. And my last question now on our first round is going out to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, what needs to be done to make gender equality a reality? In your opinion, what do you think needs to be done?
Okay. Oh, wow, sorry. Things that need to be done to ensure gender equality. Elizabeth here again. I think that the women should be heard. They shouldn't, you know, there's some of our culture in Nigeria that says women should be seen and not heard. This time around, I think the women should both, I know that the women should both be heard and also be seen, not just seen and not heard. Because you can't tell me you are giving an opportunity to somebody whom you haven't heard from. How do you know what that person basically wants or basically needs? And the government need to make it compulsory, very compulsory, for female children in Nigeria to be given education. Not just education. I usually tell my students, each time they say, I tell them to mention human rights and they say education, I tell them, no, there's something called education, but there's something called quality education. Women should be given quality education. And I think that is really failing in Nigeria, because they'll tell you that at the end of the day, every certificate you acquire ends up in the kitchen. How about you doing your kitchen duties alongside your community roles? How about that? I think that goes a long way. And for women with disability, because we talk about disability, that's when we're talking about inclusion. I think that for women with disability, there should be trained teachers in our education sector to handle the needs of everyone, because everyone is with a special need, either bipolar, either visual impairment, physical disability. So we should have trained teachers, not just teachers, but trained teachers to also understand the needs of persons with disabilities. If that can be really handled, I think the gender equality now comes. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. If I can quote you there, you said women need to be heard, not only seen, and women need quality education. You put it so well out there. If women with disabilities have the quality education and not only be seen, but only be heard, then it will be an inclusive society for all. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And now my questions that I'm going to ask them, they're a bit personal, and would like you to find out. Doris, I will start off with you. What is the greatest thing that has ever happened to you? This is a personal question. What has motivated you? What has made you the person that you are today?
Okay, thank you so much, our moderator, for another question. Doris Mkiva is talking here. Through an effort that I made and commitment, through the work that I did, activism, so as to ensure the voice of women or young women with disability being heard, and through the different activities that I did to capacitate my fellow young women with disability in different aspects, especially in leadership, to capacitate them in leadership, to be able to be confident and to be able to hold different positions in leadership and being able to make a decision, as well as to be able to participate in economic activities. My effort was really recognized, and I was honored, I was awarded a certain award as an outstanding youth on disability inclusion here in Tanzania, with a certain organization that was cooperated with the government of Tanzania. So that was the greatest things to me, since I saw myself the efforts that I did here in Tanzania have been recognized by my government. Even though, even participating here, I see myself as the greatest things, because we are so many youth, we are so many young people with disability here in Tanzania, but I get this chance. This is the greatest things to me, to be able to speak to this big congregation and my voice to be heard. So this is the greatest things to me, and I expect more conference like this will happen to me, and I will get chance to speak like the way I'm doing today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doris, for sharing your success story. You are a living example of a young woman with a disability that stands against all odds with other persons out there. Now, my next question also goes to Stella. Stella, what is one of the greatest things that has happened to you as a woman with a disability?
Yeah, asante sana kwa nafasi nyingine tena.
Thank you for the other chance.
Ya, ni kwamba katika kuwa na harakati si jambo rahisi sana ambalo kila mtu ataweza kuliona kwamba umefanya jambo la maana. Hivyo basi, katika kipindi ambacho nilichokuwa ninaweza kukumbuka jambo ambalo nimewahi limenitokea wakati nafanya hizi harakati, ni kwamba Voice of Disabled Women in Tanzania ni chama cha kwanza kabisa katika wakina mama kilichoanzishwa kinachotetea masuala yote ya akina mama wenye ulemavu. Sasa wakati nilipokuwa na hangaika au naanzisha hiki chombo, ni kwamba nilipata upinzani mwingi sana kutoka kwanza kwa akina mama wenyewe, pili kwa kina baba, kwa sababu vyama vyetu vya watu wenye ulemavu vilikuwa vimetenga sehemu ya kina mama kama idara tu. Sasa baada kwa kuona kwamba kuna changamoto nyingi sana za kina mama wenye ulemavu ambavyo tunakumbana nazo, nikaona kwamba ni vema umefika wakati wa kuanzisha chombo cha kina mama wenye ulemavu ambao tunaweza kujisemea masuala yetu na kuyawasilisha kwa pamoja bila kujali aina fulani ya wenye ulemavu. Kwa hiyo hizo changamoto nilizipata nyingi, wakina baba wakibeza na wakiwafundisha hata wakina mama kwamba wasijiunge wala wasijitokeze katika kuingia katika hicho chama, kwa sababu waliona kwamba ni chombo kimojawapo ambacho kinaweza kuwa kinawapunguzia nguvu ya kina mama kwenye chama, kwenye vyama vyao. Kwa hiyo lakini niliendelea kupambana kutoka 2007 hadi leo, ni miaka 16 na chama kimesimama, na sasa wakina baba wanakiamini na tunafanya kazi kwa pamoja katika harakati zetu za watu wenye ulemavu hapa nchini Tanzania.
Okay, in English, Stella is saying what she can remember, and that is the greatest thing to her.
Nous pouvons nous souvenir comme la chose la plus importante qui nous...
Ser la voz de las mujeres con discapacidad.
They remembered that a number of OPDs established a women wing in their organizations, of which again the voice of women with disabilities within OPDs themselves were underrepresented. Seeing that, she decided to have a movement of establishing an independent organization of women with disabilities whereby they can raise up their voices. Again, she got a number of constraints from men themselves and the women again. So the problem was that by establishing a voice of women with disabilities in Tanzania was meant reducing power of OPDs dominated by men. So she was first by a number of constraints that men themselves did not agree with this idea. Sometimes they convinced even women not to join this organization, but she did not go back. She went on advocating for the rights of women, and they managed to establish this voice of women with disability in Tanzania. And now the organization has 16 years, and it is recognized for fighting women rights, especially women with disabilities rights in Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stella. You're doing an amazing job with the women in Tanzania. And of course, we all know that self-representation is very important, especially for women with disabilities who are always under dogs. But now, in running off our conversation, I'm going to ask our speakers just to quickly, briefly tell us what is their last words that they would like to leave to the audience. I will start off with Baza. Baza, can you tell us what is the most important message that you want to give to our audience today?
Ok, merci bien, Sonini, pour la parole. Donc, le message que je souhaite transmettre aujourd'hui au grand public est que nous sachions que pour une action efficace, il nous faut une action collective. Les hommes sont des alliés incontournables dans les questions des droits des femmes. Donc, il faut qu'on arrête de considérer les femmes et les hommes comme des groupes opposés. Parce que
To achieve women's rights, because gaining power by women does not mean that we need to take out from men their rights or their powers.
Mujeres no significa que tenemos que eliminar a los hombres.
Tangible pour l'amélioration des conditions de vie des femmes et des filles. C'est ce que nous faisons dans nos projets et nos programmes. Donc, c'est ce que nous encourageons pour que les voix des femmes et des jeunes filles puissent être entendues. Voilà. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much, Baza. And we'll go straight to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, can you tell us what is your final words to the audience for today?
Okay. Elizabeth again here. My final words for the audience is for, the video has stopped, sorry. Is for persons with disabilities to be ready to take or find opportunities for themselves, not waiting for somebody to give them the opportunity. And to also urge everyone here to, how do I put this now? To also urge everybody here to serve as a source of courage to persons with disabilities around you. Encourage them to get education, because I can tell you the best thing that happened to me is the fact that I acquired education. And I think that if persons with disabilities too can just do it, they'll go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for emphasizing on education. And I will repeat it again. Education, education, education is very important to girls with disabilities, particularly in Africa. Our girls need to be educated. And Stella, can you also tell us what is your last ending words to the audience?
Asante. Yeah, Kwa ujumbe ambao napenda kuachia umma au halaiki hii ni kwamba wanawake wenye ulemavu wana changamoto nyingi sana. Sasa ili tufanikiwe ni kwamba kwa neno moja tu ama fupi ni kwamba ni kuondoa vikwazo ambavyo vinavyowakabili kina mama wenye ulemavu ili waweze kusonga mbele, kwa sababu kusonga mbele wanapenda, lakini vikwazo vinavyowazunguka ndivyo vinavyowakwamisha kuendelea.
Thank you very much. Here in Tanzania, disability is widely perceived as a medical model rather than a social model. Therefore, we need to capacitate women and the community at large to remove the barriers that impede women and girls with disabilities to be included in different aspects of life. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the parting words that you have given us, and you guys have been so amazing. But we've got one more last person. Doris, as a young person, can you tell us what are your ending words to the audience for Women's Deliver 2023? You say it from the heart.
Thank you so much. My message to this conference categorized in two groups. First is for the young women with disability, and the second one for the women, gender equality women activists. When I'm starting with the young women with disability, my message to them is, you have to accept yourself, you have to love yourself the way you are, you have to trust yourself, because the world cannot trust you if you are not doing so. And whenever you get the chance to excel your capability, just excel it to the fullest. Let your ability define you and not your disability. Whenever the people call you a disabled person, just call you a different abled person. And when I insist my fellow young women with disability to knock the door. Even the key is not open, just change it. Use another key. Even if it is broken, just use that piece of key to open the door. We have to struggle for the opportunity. Do not let your disability make you to be behind. When I'm coming to the organization and the women activists in gender equality, my message to them is, do not exclude this group of women with disability. Since I believe in diversity, we are a unique one. When we combine the efforts or we combine the idea from different group of women with disability, we can get something that is tangible and we can reach the world where gender equality are there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doris, for sharing that advice. She says, if you have to open your own doors, and I agree with you, you can open your doors. Thank you so much to our speakers. They have shared their experiences, their advice, and they are a living testimony what it is like to be a disability champion. That rounds off our discussion with the speakers. We have 12 minutes remaining, so we still are here. And our next session is, we'll hear from Dr. Mojo. He's a political scientist, governance, human rights, disability inclusion, and gender expert. He's the senior global advisor and team leader, gender and disability at UN Women at headquarters in New York. We invite him to comment on the discussion we've just heard and share some of the work UN are doing on inclusion. Dr. Mojuri, please have the mic and share with us.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. No, thank you very much for the opportunity. It's very inspiring session. And as you rightly said, each of you actually proved that things can happen even there are a lot of challenges like we face today, accessing the event, the accessibility of it, the participation of it. You all have patiently waited while colleagues are working and sorting it out, and then you ensured full participation. It actually reminded me, one of you had said that we need to knock the door, right? And actually we all together as a group knocked the door and tried to open it. And it's a beautiful metaphor today as you are all speaking of your lived life and experiences. Let me just briefly
Donc, très brièvement, je vais essayer.
I'm a middle-aged
Mi vida, yo soy un hombre
wearing blue shirt today and white glass with blue frame. And it's actually a lot of privilege for me and you meant to be part of this together with ADD and other colleagues and all of you particularly who shared your inspiring life stories. I'm not going to explain or try to detail out the challenges you confronted because you have already articulated so well. But I captured some of the points that you shared as a reflection of your lived life and some of the solution you indicated, because those solutions would be useful and powerful for us also to carry forward with policymakers of different governments as well, along with OPDs. I hear one of the solution you indicated or alluded to, the voice. And voice and participation are critical elements. It is lack of it is challenge, but when you are really doggedly pursue this, it becomes really something that you can hold on to achieve what you wanted to achieve or want to achieve. Now, some of these elements of voice and participation are not easy. Like some of you mentioned that within the large organizational movement, you have domination of male. You also confronted that domination within the organization of person with disabilities. So that's one layer of intersection. The second layer is, of course, because of your age as young people, to be heard is not always easy. In the sector where policies are decided, decisions are being made, how can you make sure that your participation and your contribution are valued? So that's another layer of challenge. There are also challenges of gender, like if women with disabilities, of course, you have more challenges than men with disabilities. I'm not saying men with disabilities don't have challenges, but women with disabilities, historically, traditionally, and in most of the societies, you have more challenges than men as you face the life and move forward. So that's one set of issues. Then you mention, of course, and we as UN Women and as also someone who is passionately believe in defining oneself with ability. One of you beautifully said that let not disability define you, let your ability define you. I'll just add, it's not only ability, it's also about your worth of your self, the human rights, the passion, the commitment to life and to yourself and to others. Everything defines you, your environment, because it's not always that who can do what. It's also about what are you bringing as a value, as a human being, and trying to change the world the way it is now. It's not necessarily ideal, and it will probably never be, but you all are making an important contribution. I couldn't agree more on the whole aspect of quality of education. Our colleagues from Nigeria and others really mentioned it very well. Education is critical, but quality education is, of course, absolutely important. And to me and many of my friends and colleagues who are with disabilities, the quality of education is basically a window to the world, right? And it's not only about a quality of education, also accessibility element of it. So many countries have ensured or installed quality education, but they sometimes didn't ensure the accessibility to it. And that creates a lot of challenges for many women and girls with disabilities. Then I also hear that you spoke about courage, which is, of course, very important, and all of you have demonstrated in your life. And the innovation, how can you be more innovative? How can you do more with less? How can you come up with solutions that probably other people would not recommend to you? And as you are saying, you have to knock and open the door and seize the opportunity. That also critically raise the issues of innovation and how an innovation can be opener. Now, innovation in one country may not be innovation in other country. That is that we all know. But what is important is recognizing individuals' efforts and trying to the whole attempt to solve a problem is important and to be recognized by all of us. Because with recognition, it also contributes to the participation. Excuse me, and that is important because one of you particularly mentioned about the societal trend to solve this medically. And it is important that we consider this not as a medical approach, but as a social inclusion approach. And I'll just briefly mention that UN Women is really prioritizing intersectionality of development, because as we are speaking, we all realizing that it is not one set of challenges, one set of disadvantages that is inhibiting or prohibiting us. It is the combination of like your race, your ethnicity, your language, the fact that you come from a rural area or urban area or part of the area where there are a lot of challenges you might be facing. It is your gender, the fact that you're a young person with disabilities. Sometimes people don't hear you, sometimes you don't have space. And how can you open the space for you? How can you lead your own full potential? It's not about somebody is doing something for you. It's about making sure that all the opportunities and then all the issues like quality education that you deserve, you get it. And how do you work with governments, with your own city councils, with your local government? We work together with all of them, including private sector and civil society organization, you name it, universities, all actors, and make sure that this world has become much more accessible and inclusive. And one point I just want to highlight, because I've seen many colleagues, by the moment we mention lack of ability or disability or any word you prefer, people typically try to see it is only associated with physical disability. It is not. There are challenges of learning disability. There are challenges of psychosocial disability. There are emotional challenges. And this is all define human society as a whole. So we need to make sure that those challenges are really factored in as we are developing our own countries, deciding policy issues, economic planning, and it becomes mainstream. That's why we are, as UN Women, we are increasingly saying it is not important only that budget and financial planning has to be gender responsive. It has to be also disability inclusive. And when you bring gender and disability and also the age, whether it is young people or elderly people, you are bringing intersectional elements, which is critical to solve the challenges, because today's challenges are not one-dimensional, multi-dimensional. That's why it is important that we also, as we are identifying intersectionality as a problem, we need to identify solutions which are intersectional, cuts across several areas. And all of you beautifully defined today some of the challenges and provided us number of solutions, and also motivate us with your one thing that the last question was asked of you, that motivated you or finding the best in you. And you have beautifully described that, which inspired us. So on behalf of United Nations and UN Women and all our partners, including ADD International, who played a critical role in hosting today's event at Women Deliver Conference, I think it is important that we recognize this and we take it forward beyond this event today. Thank you very much. And I wish you all the very best. I'm here to respond to any other question that you might or any participant might have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mojo, for rounding up everything, and also as UN Women for doing an amazing work in making sure that women, young girls with disabilities and women with disabilities are living a normal life. I call it a normal life because if we don't live our dreams and we don't live our desires, we don't live what we want, then it's not a normal life. But if we live our dreams, we live our aspirations, our stories, then we are living a normal life. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, and also extending it to intersectional challenges, something that is a bit new to us in Africa, or maybe I should say for me, but it's important that we do have to recognize that we are just more than disabled, we are more than our challenges. It's a broad section that we need to look into, and as disability activists, we need to really give it a big push and use that key to open those doors for us. Thank you so much. And I'm going to call upon my co-host, Onyinye. She's going to introduce herself and then she will tell us on her section what she'll be talking about. Onyinye, you can take the mic and continue.
All right. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me okay.
I can
If
hear
the
you.
host can, oh, okay, awesome. If the host can grant me access, okay, great. I think I should be able to turn on my video. I'm trying to be friendly with the internet today. But yeah, so I am Onyinye Ede. I am the founder and executive director of Strong Enough Girls Empowerment Initiative. And I bring you warm greetings from the country of Ghana, where I'm speaking to you live from. And I happen to be the co-host of this event along with Soneni. And I just want to appreciate Soneni for leading us through a very interesting discussion, and also to our wonderful speakers, and of course to Manjuro for all of the insights on intersectionality and inclusion and the importance of ensuring that all voices are represented. Okay, I'm going to try turning on my camera now. And oh, this lighting is not good. Let me try to do another position. I hope this doesn't interrupt. Okay, great. I hope everyone can see me. I have to use multiple devices so this can work. All right, so now we've heard from our panelists. We've also had a chance to think about the issues. We want to now hear from you all as our audience. So we're going to put up a poll and a word cloud activity so that we can hear about, oh, you cannot see me on the video. I'm so sorry about that. But I on my side, I can see myself. If you all can just confirm if you can see my video, that would be great.
We can.
Okay, awesome. Awesome, great. Thank you so much. Sorry about that. But yes, so my colleague is going to help me to launch a poll, and we're going to have about 3 questions. The first question is going to ask this question. Basically, young people are often overlooked and underrepresented, especially young women with disabilities and indigenous youths. So we want to know, how have you or your organization taken an intersectional approach to better include these groups? And we have some options for you to choose from. So if you can kindly take the poll, I believe you should be able to take it on your screen. And as you put your answers, we're going to see how every one of us is doing in our intersectional approaches. And it's okay, today we're all going to learn, we're going to learn new approaches, new strategies for ensuring that we include everyone in our programming. All right, I don't see any movement. I hope everyone has the link to take the poll. Okay, great. I see some answers coming up now. All right, so we have the first option is that you organize research that is led by young women with disabilities or indigenous youths. Another option is consulting with these groups through surveys and focus groups, okay? So far, what I can see on the screen is we have 33% of people or organizations who consult with young women with disabilities through surveys and focus groups, okay? I also see 16% made our communications more accessible to reach these groups. I would be curious to know how you're making those communications more accessible. So if you don't mind using the chat box to share some of the strategies and your communication tools, because we're all here to learn from each other. I also see, okay, now it's gone to 14% have led research that is organized by young women with disabilities or indigenous youth. I also see that 14% of us have diversified our staff to better represent these groups. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just informed that the chat is disabled for our audience. We apologize for that, but I think through this poll, we will get an overall view of how we are all working in our groups to ensure that the voices of women with disabilities and indigenous youths are represented in our programming. Okay, I don't see anyone that is, okay, well, somebody is using digital targeting, advocated to government officials for more inclusive policies, 22%. All right, it seems the overall, the most of us, I think if we can scroll up to the one with 24%, if that hasn't reduced. I think most of us, okay, most of us consult with these groups through surveys and focus groups, and we also advocate to government officials. Okay, that's great. Thank you all for sharing. We're now going to ask you to respond using a word cloud. This means that you should answer with one word, and this will be formed into a diagram where the most common words will reflect as the biggest words on the screen. So the question for this word cloud activity is, what barriers prevent you or your organization from including women with disabilities or indigenous youths in your programming? What are the barriers that prevent you or your organization from including these groups? Just use one word. You can put multiple words. We want to really understand the challenges to promoting inclusion and intersectionality. All right, thank you. I see some words are coming up. Exterior, okay, exterior as a word, accessibility, medical. If we can get a bit more specific with these words, what do we mean by medical? Okay, I see information, resources, safeguarding. Oh, safeguarding is a good one. How do we ensure that we're protecting women with disabilities and indigenous youth? Okay, lack of skills. Yes, that is also important. So how can we partner with these groups to gain the skills that we need to ensure that we work better with groups that are often marginalized because we lack the skills to engage them? Okay, any other words? Okay, lack of understanding. I see that has come through. Lack of understanding. What else? What other barriers are we finding in our spaces, personally or as an organization? Resources. Okay. Right now, I don't even know which one is the biggest. I think resources, lack of skills, accessibility seem to be the biggest challenges. And I hope that by the time we're done with today's webinar, you have access to some resources. Like all of the organizations that have partnered to put this program together, we are a resource to you. So feel free to reach out to us. We'll be sharing our contact information by the end, so we can share some resources, some information, and probably even offer some skills training so that we can ensure that women with disabilities and indigenous youths are carried along in our programming. I also see poor information and exclusion. Thank you all for sharing. Okay, working with our time, I know that we can probably get more, but for now we will move on to the final question and activity that I would love to hear you all, your thoughts on. Okay, actually, maybe that was the last question. So yes, I hope everyone was able to contribute either by sharing the barriers. Okay, sorry. Yes, we do have one more question. Yes, our final question is, what can you as your organization do to better include these groups? I understand we're running out of time, so if we can quickly get a couple of suggestions, because we want to leave out of today's conversation knowing what we can do to ensure that we are more inclusive. So I see funding, yes. I see voice, yes. We have to give a voice. We have to allow women with disabilities and indigenous youth to have a voice, as we've done today. Let them use their voices to advocate for what they need. Okay, languages, that is very key. Ensuring that people with disabilities can get information in the language or the communication method that they understand. Great. I see campaigning. I see access. I see GESI policy. Yes, for those who don't know, GESI is gender equity and social inclusion. Manjaro talked about social inclusion. So yes, so thank you all for sharing these strategies. And I hope that if you're not doing any of these, you can go home today and think of how can we raise more money to include women with disabilities in our programs? How can we ensure that we do campaigns and that we bring them to the table whenever we are designing programs? As we often say, nothing without us, or nothing for us without us. So thank you all for participating. I'm going to hand it back over to my co-host, and I'm excited to see your commitments as we move forward to ensure that we are being inclusive in our programming. So over to you, Soneni. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Onyinyo, for such an interactive session that you had there. And I'd like to thank everyone for participating. Thank you to our wonderful speakers that have shared their stories. Thank you to Elizabeth, Baza, Doris, and Stella. And thank you to Enoch, who has also been providing Swahili translation for Elizabeth. And thank you to Grace, who has been managing all the tech. And to our sign language interpreters, thank you so much for doing an amazing job. And I'm just going to add a little one to say thank you to Emma, also for being a wonderful and amazing coordinator. She's really been running the race with us. And just to round off and say thanks to our co-organizer, and thanks to our co-organizations. This event was done by ED International, Strong Enough Girls Empowerment Initiative, and UN Women. We will share the website in the chat. So if you'd like to get a hold of this organization, we are going to share the website on the screen. I'm sure you can see them right now. And also, like, if you are on Twitter, please don't forget to tweet this conversation after that. And also thank you to Dr. Mojuri also for being an amazing speaker and sharing what UN Women does for girls and women with disabilities in Africa. And from me, Soneni Kwizi, and everyone, we're marking our own history to say we attended World WD 2023. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.